Live. So today I want to talk about how stress, fear, and anxiety are robbing us of the ability to make good decisions. And the reason they're doing that is happening on a number of different levels. There's the emotional level, there's the mental level, the clear thinking. And there's also even the impact that stress, fear, anxiety have on our entire nervous system running through our bodies. And what's going to happen within our body chemically, where blood flow and circulation go, where attention and energy flows to when we're in different states. So if you think about news, the newspapers, social media make a killing on what is known as FUDGE: fear, uncertainty, doubt, greed, and envy. And we're living in a world right now where we are seeing that and being plastered by that, being hammered by it day by day. And so, is it any wonder that people are living in fear? They're living in doubt. They're wondering, am I good enough? Is somebody better than me? And we all have choices. Do we play the game or don't we? But when we're making choices based on fear, from a place of stress or from anxiety, they are not our best decisions, okay? So if you want to think about fear, fear tells you any choice that takes you away from danger is a good choice. And that means that you could run in any direction, and that's a good choice. But is that really a good choice for you? Because if you're working towards goals, if you're working towards objectives, you don't want to take off in just any direction. You actually want to choose a direction that takes you closer towards your objective and your goals. And so if you continue on avoidance and running away from, if you choose safe rather than choose opportunities, then you're missing out on the power of good decision making. So let's look really quickly at what are the effects, what are the impacts of stress, fear, and anxiety in our body, okay? They're going to send us into one of three levels: fight, flight, or freeze, okay? Now, most of us know fight and flight really well. But freeze is when we go from that absolute doing anything and everything, running away, fighting, to absolute apathy, depression, doing nothing because there's absolutely nothing I can do. I might as well just be immobile. I might as well not do anything. And so if you are in fight or flight, or even if you are in freeze, if you're failing to return to that center point of being in calm, your body on a chemical, on a nervous level, is living in chronic stress. And you get accustomed to that. You start looking internally as always being on cortisol, the stress hormone. And that's going to have physiological changes. And you're actually going to end up resistant to cortisol. And then, of course, you're going to need more stress to feel normal, because your level of what is normal is stressed. Okay? So there's short-term fixes for stress, for fear, for anxiety. But if you're looking at chronic stress over long periods of time, what you need to be looking at really is lifestyle changes. Because anything less than a lifestyle change is not going to change a situation. It is just a short-term fix. Okay? So I want to look at briefly embodied stress. Okay? When you're under stress, living in fear, your body is going to strive to keep you on hyper alert. It's going to try and keep you moving, keep you motivated, and avoiding danger. Okay? So there's a physiological response that happens. It's going to shut down within your body certain functions that the body physiologically considers are not required, not needed for survival. Okay? So, one of the things that's not needed for survival when you are in absolute flight or fight is digestion. Is it any wonder we see so many people now living with indigestion because they're living in constant states of stress? Okay, we've got indigestion, we've got reflux, we've got all kinds of autoimmune things that are happening starting in the gut. Okay, but the other thing that's happening in your body when you're under stress is that all of your senses filter out and filter in what is danger or what is not danger. So when you're in fight flight, your peripheral vision opens up so that you can see where the attack is coming from. Okay. And yet, when you're trying to find your car keys or your phone or your glasses, you can't see anything right under your nose because your senses and your peripheral vision has opened up, but you don't see what's right in front of you. Okay. You're better able to spot hostility and aggression. You'll notice other people's angry tones, and you'll miss when somebody's neutral or calm because you'll read it as being angry. If they are not smiling, if they are not actually welcoming, that is absolutely obvious that they're safe, you will read anything that is remotely serious as being aggressive and hostile. Okay? And even our hearing changes. So what we can hear, what we tune into will change. You're going to hear the high pitched, you're going to hear the really low pitched, but you're not going to hear that calm voice that's in a normal range. Okay? And in your nervous system, changes also happen when you're under stress. Okay? Things like your heart rate, your body temperature, all of that. Your blood goes to your limbs, which makes sense for fight, for flight, for running away. But it's not very good for calm thinking, for rationalizing, for planning. Okay? Your blood thickens, making clotting it easier. Okay? Which is great if you're in a fight and you get cut. But imagine how many people suffer with problems of heart disease or circulation, and they don't need their blood to thicken and clot in the office. Okay? The other thing that's going to happen is insomnia. Anxiety is going to lead you to staying alert through the night, watching out for danger. Of course, your stress levels are going to heighten even further when you're short on sleep. So it's going to impact your health and your immune system. Could give you high blood pressure, can give you, other problems like digestive issues. You're also going to have emotional responses to stress. Okay. So some of the emotional responses to stress are, especially like for me, I stop being playful, and I can really notice when I'm stressed as to how I react with my 8-year-old. Am I playful? Am I light? Or do I become hard? Do I become difficult to deal with? So some of the emotional things that will happen to me when I'm under stress is intense emotions. I get very angry, or I'm impulsive. I'm a lot more irritable. I'm easily lose my patience. Okay. I might turn to sadness or depression. There's frustration. I withdraw from the world. There's all signals that I'm under stress. Okay. It also makes it difficult to find solutions because the moment you're withdrawing, the moment you fail to connect and communicate with others, your stress is going to impact those relationships that best support you when you need it most. Okay. And so they're impacting trust in our relationships. And if I'm regularly and constantly reacting by withdrawal, what I'm doing is negatively impacting all of my relationships. Okay. There's also obviously mental responses to stress, rumination, overthinking, just getting stuck on that one point that you just cannot let go of. But it's really limited, and your focus is really narrow. Rather than being able to think outside the box and look at a problem from various different perspectives, being under stress or fear and anxiety is going to really narrow that down as to what you can see. Okay? So you end up on a loop. You end up going around in circles. And long-term stress impacts the ability to think clearly. Okay? So you're going to have problems with memory and problem solving. Okay? One of the things that's going to happen is that with your memory, okay, stress hormones go straight to your hippocampus. That's where you store long-term memories. So you can remember something short-term, but it makes it really difficult to learn something new. Okay? If you think about university days or high school days when you cramming and you're studying and you're under stress and you learn something just in time for your test or exam, and 2 days later you can remember nothing. Well, that's your stress hormones kicking in. They helped you in the short term, but there's no long-term memories, okay? And the second part of your brain that's going to be impacted with stress is that part of your brain that helps you pay attention and focus, okay? It's that part that helps you stay in the present moment, okay? So you're really scattered. And the frontal lobe also helps you filter out what is irrelevant or what's unimportant. So this is why you get this feeling when you're stressed of being completely overwhelmed, because your filter got turned off. Okay? You're not able to say this is important, this is not important, because you're just too stressed to be able to make that. Okay? You're not keeping focused, you're not concentrating, and you're not doing problem solving. Okay? So what do you need for good decision making? You're going to hear me talk about this ad nauseum. You're going to need your heart to tell you what's important, what your values are, what's essential and priority at this time. You're going to need to notice what your feelings and desires are. You can't connect with that when you're under stress because it's all going to get turned off, either into hyperdrive or into apathy. Okay? And the other thing that you need to take into account in decision making that is heart-led is your relationships. In terms of your head, as I've said, you're going to need to be able to see multiple options, think outside the box, get creative, be curious, okay? And when you're calm, you can become aware of your own biases or limited perspectives, and then you can challenge that. You can ask others to challenge you when you're in calm because you're not going to respond defensively. Okay? Can you notice other perspectives? And finally, when you're in a state of calm, you can plan for the future. You can foresee obstacles. And you're not going to fall into that overthinking, that catastrophizing, that awfulizing that can happen. On a gut level, you need to be calm to feel that gut instinct, more than just turmoil and discomfort in your gut, which is what happens when we're stressed or when we're fearful and we're anxious. And all I know is that I'm feeling anxiety or stress. We want to be in a state of calm where we can actually listen to the gut instinct, that quiet, deep gut that says, this is impact, okay? And we can look at risk deeply from safety and security, from good boundaries, and not blow things out of proportion. So I want you to imagine for a moment a lion or a cheetah sitting on a hill above the savannah looking for its food supply, okay? And I have to thank my friend Vicky for this idea of what does it mean to be calm and alert? Okay. If you think of that lion or that cheetah, you're going to see there's a sparkle in their eyes. They're present, they're alert. They're not dozy, they're not sleepy. They haven't just eaten and they're going off. No, they're actually actively alert and watching. Their eyes are catching every detail before them. But at the same time, if you look at their body, they are relaxed. They're not using an ounce of energy that they don't need because there's this deep sense of calm and tranquility. It's not fatigue. It's not a state of rest. It is just relaxed. And that's really the state we want to be in to plan, to think, to ideate, and to create new things. So, how do you change from stress to calm? Okay. One of the things that I want you to think about is the cybernetic loop. And I probably have mentioned this before, and I will mention again. If you go onto my blog, you're going to see a visual image of what the cybernetic loop is. That's your thinking, feeling, and physiological action, what's happening in your body, what's happening in your environment. And in the loop, you can get stuck in the loop or you can break the loop. So if you want to change from a state of stress to a state of calm, you can either interrupt your feelings, you can interrupt your thinking, or you can interrupt your physiological state. And the first thing that is going to happen is you've got to bring in self-awareness. One, you've got to notice you're in fear, stress, or anxiety. But secondly, you've got to notice what am I thinking about? What am I feeling? What's my physiological state? And when you know yourself well enough, then you can calibrate. Okay, where are my thoughts focused right now? And then you create the pause, and just breathe takes on a whole new meaning because you're breathing because it interrupts your physiological state. You're slowing down the heartbeat. You're bringing your blood supply and your entire nervous system back into a state of relaxed alert. And that is why breath work is so powerful. Okay? If you're in freeze, you can use your breath to bring the energy up. It's not just about using your breath to calm yourself down. You can actually use your breath to bring your energy up. Okay? The other thing is that you can use your posture, okay, to take you from stress to relax. And one of the most amazing exercises I've learned, and I think I've already shared this, is you can take yourself, bring the shoulders forward, just bring it back into a fetal position, then bring yourself up and stretch it out, bring your arms back, stretch that out, and you'll notice the change of energy level in your body. It's so simple. And then just roll your shoulders back and come back to an upright position. And notice what happens to your stress level. Notice what happens in your body when you just change your posture. Another thing is just practicing mindfulness. One of the things with practicing mindfulness is it's something you do daily. It's not something you do only when you're stressed. The most powerful effect of mindfulness or meditation is doing it on a regular basis so that you notice, it comes back once again to what I said about self-awareness. You notice when you change states. When did I go from calm into feeling stress? Okay? So if you're not doing mindfulness on a regular basis, you're not going to notice it. Okay? Another option, obviously, is to interrupt your emotional state. Okay? So for me, I can go with music. That will interrupt my emotional state. It'll take me to a different place. You can do physical activities, which also will take you to a different emotional state. You might try connecting with friends. Now, obviously, connection can be really hard when we're stressed because we're pulling away, and our physiological state pulls us away from connection. But connection is exactly what we need when we're stressed. We need the safety and the security of the herd, of the group, of belonging. And that creates a better perspective for decision making. Okay? We need to look at who's my inner circle? Who is that clear support group that I have of 5 or 6 people that will support me when there's decision making? And my favorite, absolute favorite for stress, for fear, for depression is laughter. And if you haven't tried laughter therapy, if you haven't tried different ways of catharsis with laughter, it is a wonderful way to break states. Okay? So you look up, what could I do differently? What can I change? Okay? You can also change your state by changing and clearing your mind. Okay? And one of the ways I do that is a brain dump. Okay? Especially if I'm overthinking at night, I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to write and write and write until my brain says, no more. I got nothing left to say. There's nothing more to think about. Now I'd like to go to sleep. Now, sometimes that might take me an hour, but it is an hour that is much better spent doing the brain dump than it is spent tossing and turning in bed trying to figure it out. Okay? One of the other things that I love last thing at night, and I think I've mentioned this already before, is just before you go to bed to write down 2 or 3 questions that you want your subconscious mind to work on overnight as you sleep. And then in the morning, when you do morning pages, if you do morning pages, then have a look at those questions that you wrote down the night before and write down the first answers that come to mind and see what happens in your mind when you allow yourself to analyze those questions first thing in the morning without a lot of thought, but just coming up, what came up in my subconscious. There's also beauty to going out with an intentional walk for the purpose of thinking. Now, when you're doing a thinking walk, you need to choose wisely where you go for a walk. This is not that you can go for a walk anywhere, because you want to choose somewhere that it's safe to walk in your mind, so that you're not walking for mindfulness, i.e. being really aware of where you are and the environment around you and your settings, but rather you're actually literally going for a walk to be lost in thought. And that's a great way to clear your mind and bring clarity. Okay? One of the things you do for anxiety is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste in my mouth. Okay? And what it does is it brings you back into the present moment, away from all that overthinking, away from the anxiety, and into your thoughts. So how do we amplify decision making? Well, decision making happens when we're in a state of calm. That wisdom of being able to connect with heart, being able to be clear-headed, to be able to trust your gut happens in a state of calm. So whatever is driving your fear, your stress, your anxiety, it's about bringing yourself back into inner calm. It's not that the world around you is in a state of calm. It is that you are calm. Okay? It's knowing that you are the sky and everything else is just the weather. And being able to come back in and say, okay, I will be in the state of calm. And from there, I can see what wisdom opens up for me. Okay? So you're going to create a lifestyle where you have moments, where you have days of calm, where you can reach in and say what's really going on. So if you've got any questions for me, I would love to see or hear them now. So let's see. Claire says, I have a workshop today on COVID trauma, and this is an excellent precursor. Perfect. I am so glad